Hello, once again, I'm Brandon with Biotrauma 911. Thanks for joining me for this 7th training module of our classroom section of this biohazard remediation training course. Today we're going to talk about working the scene. In the last video, you learned how to properly assess the scene, and we covered some of how to work a scene as well. At some point, you'll watch our hands-on video that follows Steve as he once again covers a process of assessing and bidding a scene. If you subscribe to our business bundle package, you'll have our team available to help you as you work through completing cost proposals for potential jobs. To learn more about our business bundle subscription, please visit us at courses.extremeremediation.com. If all goes well, whether you've used our help or not, you'll pick up your first job within a few weeks of starting your new business. That said, if you haven't started advertising and your new company website hasn't yet been indexed by the search engines, it may take a bit longer to get your first job. However, it will happen at some point, and that's the topic of this video instruction. CTS Decon, which is short for Crime and Trauma Scene Decontamination, is much more than processing, documenting, and bagging biohazards and trash. When done right, biohazard remediation is a slow, methodical, systematic, and orderly process that involves protocols and processing methodology. It's a business that requires you to do things correctly and safely, and it's a business that's very difficult to learn without proper training. So assuming you've now secured your first job, what's your plan? Are you ready? Do you know the steps that you'll need to take to properly remediate the suicide scene that a mother just called you about? A mother who just lost her son 12 hours prior to a self-inflicted gunshot wound? As much as we like to think our training course will prepare you for your first job, there's nothing that can truly prepare you to deal with the distraught mother who just lost her child. No amount of training can make you ready to clean a scene that's covered in human blood. However, I can tell you through my years of experience as a police officer and owner of Biotrauma 911, it does become easier to manage. As you do this job and gain experience working a wide range of trauma-related scenes, you'll become better at projecting professionalism. You'll be less likely to dwell on the emotional side of the trauma and more likely to deal with the business side of it. That said, the job of remediating trauma scenes can exact a toll on your technicians both physically and emotionally. Always be prepared to talk with your techs concerning their well-being and offer company-paid therapy if you find one of your team members is struggling to cope with the job. So back to your plan. We like to say that an efficient plan produces an effective outcome. Or it's been said that one's failure to plan is a plan for failure. There's probably 100 more sayings that stress the importance of having a plan of action. So when you get your first job, your first action may be to go back through this training material. This is why we give you access for 2 years. Revisiting these topics may refresh your memory, but chances are you won't have a lot of time to do this. Most clients who request biohazard remediation services need the job to be started within 24 hours, some even quicker. So let's run through some of the steps you'll want to take once your client agrees to your pricing and terms. Think about the job as you know it based on your client's description and/or photographs. Is there anything that you think you may need to study or revisit in your training? Now's the time to do it. If you're a member of our business bundle package, you could call us for assistance and we'll walk through the job with you. Think about the tools, chemicals, and equipment you'll need for the job and make sure everything is in the truck and ready to go. If it's wintertime and below freezing in your area, make sure your chemicals are not frozen. It's always a good idea when experiencing temperature extremes to store chemicals in a climate-controlled environment. Do you need to visit a home improvement store to pick up anything you may not have on hand? Do you know where you're going? Will this be a day trip or will you need to arrange for hotel rooms? Do you have enough money for fuel there and back? Remember, if you're pulling a trailer, you may only get 8 to 10 miles to the gallon. Talking about money, did you receive a portion of the proposed cost up front? At Biotrauma 911, we typically receive a minimum of 50% up front unless we're dealing with a business or insurance company. If a homeowner's policy is going to cover the cost of remediation, then you would only receive the policy deductible from the homeowner, as the remaining balance will be paid by the insurance company. Did the client return a signed contract, and do you have a signed permission to enter, or will the homeowner be at the site when you arrive? These are just some of the things you want to think about or consider before heading to the job. Once you arrive on scene, you'll conduct your assessment, taking note of both clean and affected areas. Clean areas may come into play when you need to move uncontaminated items out of your work area. We always like to designate a staging area for clean items. One thing to consider is how can we get the job done with the least amount of potential for cross-contamination. This is extremely important. As you may have learned in some of our other training videos, anytime we approach a biohazard remediation job, such as a crime scene or suicide, we establish a clean tech and a dirty tech. Most biohazard remediation jobs will only require 2 technicians. Let's first talk about the role of the clean tech, who may or may not be the less experienced of the 2 technicians. However, the position of clean tech isn't a bad position to be assigned to if you're relatively new to the industry and want to gain some experience by watching a more experienced technician do the actual remediation work. As a clean tech, you'll stay out of the affected area as much as possible, assist the dirty tech as needed, retrieve and maintain tools, disinfect tools as they are no longer needed, maintain and store all items removed from the scene, put together new biohazard boxes and seal up and remove full ones, stage trash and other items be taken to the landfill. In general terms, the clean tech keeps everything ready for the dirty tech. Depending on your company policies, the clean tech may photograph the scene during the job. He or she may keep track of tools and equipment used during the job and inventory all items removed from the job. The clean tech should act as an extra set of eyes to point out potential hazards to the dirty tech, and the clean tech maintains security. Remember, the dirty tech won't be looking around and typically won't be paying any attention to the surroundings. If someone walks up on the scene, which will happen often, the clean tech needs to bring this to the attention of the dirty tech. Now, we've used the term dirty tech many times, and the title is very misleading. As it implies, you'd expect the dirty tech to be covered in blood and body fluids, but in reality, the dirty tech should remain very clean. The last thing you want is for anyone on your team to be covered in biohazards or other contaminants. If both of your clean and dirty techs are equally proficient at remediating a scene, there's no reason why they can't switch roles during the job. There's no rule that states a clean tech must remain a clean tech for the duration of the job. For the most part, a dirty tech will identify biohazard waste at the scene. Remember, federal, state, and local agencies will label your company as the generator of the biohazard waste as soon as you interact with it. Therefore, once you start remediating a scene, you must properly dispose of any waste you collect. Once identified, a dirty tech will disinfect, contain, and remove biohazards from the scene. Both the dirty tech and clean tech will pay very close attention to detail. It's vital that you remove all biohazards while you're at the scene. You don't want a distraught mother to enter her son's bedroom only to find blood spatter that you missed. Check and recheck your work to make sure you've properly cleaned the scene. A dirty tech will understand the importance of working into the scene. He or she will not haphazardly jump into the middle of a contaminated area to start working from the inside out. Start from the outside, clear a path, and work into the scene. Avoid cross-contamination. This is one of the main reasons we work with a clean tech and dirty tech. If both techs were inside the contaminated area, who could safely move to the work van or another area of the house to retrieve more paper towels or another bio box? Chances are, if both your technicians are working inside the contaminated area, one would definitely spread contamination between the work area and the door as he moves towards the vehicle. Regardless of the method you choose to work a scene, always keep in mind that cross-contamination should be avoided at all costs. Talk to one another. Communication will help you to get the job done with fewer injuries and issues. Many of the injuries that happen in a workplace could have been avoided with better communication. While working the scene, remember to stay hydrated. Working in PPE, especially on a hot day, will exhaust you. Take frequent breaks and drink lots of water. A short time ago, I mentioned working your way into a scene. In order to clear a path, you will often need to disinfect as you move. When you entered the home and conducted your initial assessment, you should have determined where the affected areas were, and you should have come up with a game plan to get to that affected area. Sometimes this is easy to do, but sometimes you'll have blood spatter and drops of blood or body fluids between you and the most heavily soiled area. The process of clearing the area is not difficult, but it can take some time. First, spray everything in front of you with disinfectant and wait the manufacturer's recommended time before removing the items. After the 15 minutes or so of soak time, remove the contaminated items and place into a biohazard box. If additional items are below the items that you just picked up, spray those items with disinfectant and wait another 15 minutes or whatever the disinfectant manufacturer recommends. Repeat this process as you clear a path into the scene. It should go without saying that each scene will be unique and will require an individualized plan. However, the same safety rules and attention to detail should be part of each plan. When clearing a path, always start from the beginning, whether that's a street or from a doorway. As you apply your disinfectant, you'll have time to determine what steps need to be taken to remove the biohazard. For example, removing biohazards from concrete or blacktop will require a different process than removing biohazards from carpet and padding. How about the subfloor? As you remove hardwood, laminate, tile, or carpet, check to see if the biohazards affected the subfloor. Maybe the blood has soaked through the subfloor and into the crawl space that's full of pea gravel. As I stated earlier, every scene will be a little bit different. Take your time, soak each layer you uncover with disinfectant, and slowly remove the contaminated area. Thank you for your time in watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video titled Understanding Surfaces. Please feel free to reach out to us at training@biotrauma911.com with any questions regarding this lesson or anything you've learned up to this point.